What's up, Internet? Welcome to Once Over. I'm Kaylee, and with me today I have Mike, the Football Grump from Just Giants podcast, and we're going to be giving the once over to Cool Hand Luke. There will be spoilers.
Give it a good once over.
Giving us the once over.
Giving him the once over.
Give me a once over.
Down to give us the once over.
For a routine once over.
Once over.
Oh, just once over lightly.
Mike, thank you so much for joining me today. You are joining me for a very special reason, not just so that we can talk about Cool Hand Luke, but more so because Cool Hand Luke has one of the most infamous egg scenes of all of movie history.
I can eat 50 eggs.
And you have the most wonderful holiday every year, which is called Egg Day. Please tell everybody all about Egg Day.
So Egg Day is the result of 2020 pandemic boredom. I grew up in a household where I didn't really learn how to cook, so I only knew how to make things in order to survive. So I have very little kitchen skills. Previously, we fumbled our way through a pizza on on Once Over when we went through the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's basically the bare minimum of what I can do. I tried to learn how to flip an egg in a pan without having to use a spatula.
No, one of them sort of.
During the pandemic when there was really nothing to do, and it was surprisingly challenging for me. I really just couldn't get it down, and it was really frustrating. So it became a goal of mine to get this egg to flip perfectly in a pan without breaking the yolk or anything. I ate eggs every single day until I could do it, and I finally flipped an egg in the pan on May 9th. I was like so ecstatic that I was able to just like accomplish this random challenge that I just remembered the day, May 9th, and it just became a holiday where now I celebrate by having somebody else make eggs for me for dinner.
So you told me this story, and I thought that it was such a hilarious holiday that I have now started celebrating Egg Day. And eating eggs constantly throughout the pandemic sounds like my personal hell because I hate eggs. So today, Mike and I are going to be talking about Cool Hand Luke, and I am also going to be cooking an omelet under the direction of Mike because I am horrible at cooking eggs and I have no idea what I'm doing. You guys have seen me do it in previous years. It was a nightmare. Mike is going to help guide me through it. I'm going to do it this year, and I am going to flip an egg without using a spatula, without getting it on the ground. It's going to be all over the ground, but we're going to try our darndest here. Yay.
I've figured out how to cook an egg, an omelet, and I've figured out how to flip it in the pan, but I've no great leadership skills, so under my guidance, this is going to be a very, very interesting scenario.
Yeah, this sounds perfect to me. I literally cannot wait right now.
I'm excited.
I'm not. Goddamn eggs. So you had never seen Cool Hand Luke before, is that correct?
No, there's like a handful of classic movies that I'm embarrassed to say that I've never just seen in the random times in my life that it would have just come up. So this falls into that category, but I was happy to finally see it. And I didn't know that the quote from the Guns N' Roses song was like from this movie.
This movie has so much infamy, but I feel like a lot of people miss it. It's really easy to miss out on the classics. And of course, this came out in 1967 and stars Paul Newman, the absolutely amazing Paul Newman. But we always miss movies. And this one is one that I didn't see until maybe about 10 years ago. And I was like, why was I waiting on this? It's so awesome.
You know, it's like a movie that I think people reference sometimes.
Yeah, I hate fire. You love me, low down, yellow belly.
At a diner in New Jersey, there was a Cool Hand Luke burger that had egg on it. And I've seen like random references like that, but nobody really like tells you to see this. Like I had no idea what this movie was even about. Like, it's not talked about, really.
The egg scene is probably, again, the most infamous egg scene in any movie ever. Anytime that you mention Cool Hand Luke to somebody, they will then immediately talk about
50 eggs.
a million people that I think there's been TikTok challenges of it recently. They did it on Jackass. Everybody, for some reason, really likes to torture themselves with that challenge. And that, of course, is relating so much to Paul Newman's titular character, Luke, who is a prisoner in the Florida State Prison camp when he refuses to submit to the man. And so it's this anti-establishment, I can literally do anything sort of a message.
It is. And what's really interesting is I couldn't really tell from the movie where this prison was supposed to be. Like, it looks to me like it's supposed to be like on the frontier or something. So I had to look it up, and it turns out that it was based around a prison camp. Like, I think like the production staff had sent staff out to a prison in Gainesville, Florida, to get like all the measurements. Funny thing about Gainesville, Florida, is that it is the site of the University of Florida, which I have a football podcast with a co-host who is from the University of Florida and touts University of Florida sports constantly. So I just thought that was a really funny connection. And for that reason, I've been to Gainesville several times.
So you need to ask him to go, or the next trip that you make, you got to go and find the prison camp and see how realistic it was, huh?
Yeah, I'll make sure.
And that's when Mike joined the chain gang. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this movie came out in 1967. It was directed by Stuart Rosenberg, who then went on to do Amityville Horror. It stars Paul Newman and George Kennedy, who went on to do Airport a couple of years later, which is an awesome little disaster movie. It's set in the 1950s, and I think maybe a little bit of the reason that you got kind of confused about the setting and the era is because it was set only less than 20 years prior to when it came out. So it's a period piece that doesn't really feel like a period piece, which I think is kind of interesting. It was also based on Don Pierce's 1965 novel, which had the same name. Luke's character, we start out the film with Luke drunkenly cutting up parking meters. We get these big, huge flashes of the word violation on the screen. The sound design there is absolutely amazing. And as a result of him doing this, he gets sentenced to 2 years in a chain gang that is run by the captain and the boss, who wears the iconic mirrored sunglasses.
Which is awesome, by the way. I don't know if that's like the origination of the like the roadside cop with the mirrored sunglasses like imagery comes from, but it's super intimidating character.
Yeah.
And I think they even call him the man with no eyes.
Absolutely where that came from. And people have used that both in real life to show inhumanity and a disconnection, as well as it has become a trope in cinema and TV.
Now, to teach you boys a lesson, Officer Rabbit and I are going to stand here while you three smoke the whole bag. Please, no. Please, yes. Mother of God.
That was such a wonderful character choice. And of course, we get to see the sunglasses again in the end of the film being destroyed. So this thing that has become an icon goes from being terrifying to being helpless.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of imagery with this movie as well. I'm not exactly sure what. It feels kind of religious to me.
I would completely agree with that, actually. I think that there are quite a few scenes in this film where we get that religious imagery. And actually, Luke's prison number, once he joins the camp, is 37, which I believe was chosen specifically because Luke 137 says something to the effect of, with God, anything is possible, which is a very powerful way to think about this film. We also get other moments in the film, for example, during the egg scene, when Luke is stuffed to the brim with eggs. He's laid on a table almost looking like he's in a crucifixion position. There's a time in the film where he is forced to eat a lot of rice by the guards, and all of the other prisoners come to help him. And it's almost as if they are eating the body of Christ in those moments. We almost have this Last Supper-y sort of idea that is happening. Luke really is a saint. He is their savior.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes across as. I didn't catch the Last Supper kind of imagery, but the crucifixion is almost dead in your face. I think it's especially poignant when he is unjustly and preemptively punished and sent to the box, which is, I guess, like the hole. And if you've ever watched Oz or anything like that, he has a line where he tells, I think the warden, just because it's your job doesn't make it right.
Just doing my job. You got to appreciate that.
Nah. Calling it your job don't make it right, boss.
And I think that's where I was really starting to make the connections.
Oh, absolutely. All of the minor violations that the prisoners commit, they are threatened with a night in the box.
For any man forgets his number, spends a night in the box. These here spoons you keep with you. Any man loses his spoon, spends a night in the box.
And this is a line that is repeated multiple times. We get the reference on The Simpsons to this iconic moment in this film.
Staring at my handles. That's a paddling. Paddling the school canoe. Oh, you better believe that's a paddling.
And it's impending. You know that we are going to see people having to spend a night in the box, because pretty much anything that they do, no matter how perfect they are not going to be good enough. After Luke is put into the prison, he gets to meet the other prisoners, the most infamous of which is Dragline, who is the clear alpha of the group. While they are working out on their chain gang, they see for the first time, or for the rare occasion, they get to see a woman who Dragline calls Lucille.
Lucille, baby.
This scene is, I think that the vast majority of people, when they think about this film, they think about the eggs and they think about Lucille. The actress who played her, Joy Harmon, did not realize how sexualized that scene was going to be. She, again, this movie, it really helps codify the idea of the tropes of like, washing a car is sexy. And these guys who haven't seen a woman in so long, they're so horned up that it doesn't matter what she's doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I certainly will remember that scene going forward. It's going to be the one that sticks out for me. It's the only female in the entire movie, I think.
We get to see, what's her name, Arletta?
Arletta as well, yeah.
Yeah, who is Luke's mom, of course. Once Luke is within the prison system, Luke and Dragline end up having a boxing match. And Luke completely refuses to submit, even though he is the clear loser. He can hardly stand up. This allows him to earn the respect of his fellow prisoners. They're all like, whoa, he won't stop. There's nothing that can stop this guy.
Stay down. You're beat. You're gonna have to kill me.
This like earning of respect by just kind of not backing down, even though you can't compete, I feel like is I don't know if it's a theme or a scene that predates this movie, but it's definitely one that I've seen since this movie. Notably for me is actually a football movie, although I think that almost all football movies are bad. But The Longest Yard has a scene just like this, where you have where they were playing basketball, and even though they were cheating, they just got up and continued to play anyway. So it was kind of the same idea.
It is a very powerful way to show that Luke is defiant, not just of authority. He was cutting the heads off of those parking meters. He's defiant because his body won't quit him either. He's not just defying the law. He's defying what is expected of the human body.
Definitely. And we see it throughout the movie.
He then wins at a poker game, even though he has absolutely nothing in his hand, which is what earns him his nickname, Cool Hand Luke.
Just like today when he kept coming back at me with nothing.
Yeah, well, sometimes nothing can be a real cool hand.
And he is bequeathed that by Dragline. So this is the point in the film where Dragline even starts to respect him, and that gains him and allots him even more respect with the prisoners because Dragline is so well respected.
Yeah, it feels like that there's a social hierarchy among the inmates that is, it's not like he's appointed their leader. It's kind of like the whole hierarchy just sort of explodes. And it's less so that he's commanding them and more so that they're just following what it is that he does.
Luke then leads the entire crew of prisoners to complete a seemingly impossible job of paving a road. And we get, again, very iconic moments in this movie within this scene because The Simpsons completely recreated this scene. And I think that other things probably have as well, but I always think of it from The Simpsons. We get to see those mirrored sunglasses. Something that's interesting about the scene is that they actually really did pave like a mile-long stretch of road in order to film it.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. What's really interesting is that he inspires them to complete the task without really even asking them to do it, just by simply doing it himself.
That's a really good point. During this time of the film, also, we do get to meet his mom, Arletta, who visits him at the prison. He seems to feel more optimistic after this visit, but he does know that her illness means that she's going to die soon. And that does come back later in the film when she actually does pass away. But that does not happen before we have the infamous egg eating scene. Luke is already, at this point, almost an icon to all of these prisoners. But what really solidifies his position as the new alpha, I guess you could say, as somebody to be followed, is that he makes a bet that he can eat 50 hard-boiled eggs in 1 hour's time.
Which is disgusting.
It's disgusting.
That is pretty close to eating one entire hard-boiled egg per minute, which when you really think about the pace of over the stretch of an hour is like nauseating to even think of doing 20 in an hour.
So I looked up like other people who have done this challenge, and I saw that I think somebody did it in, I think it was like 10 minutes and 38 seconds, 50 eggs.
Oh God.
And I was like, how much did you puke? Why would you do this to yourself?
I don't like it. I don't like
No.
it.
I don't like it either, which is exactly why I am going to eat 6 hard-boiled eggs right now. So I have 6 hard-boiled eggs. I have pre-peeled them because in the movie, Luke gets his pre-peeled and I'm really bad at peeling eggs. This is my actual hell, is eating these eggs right now. I hate eggs. I hate eggs. I don't know why I like your stupid holiday so much, but I do, and I'm happy that once a year now I eat eggs because of it.
I like to think that my holiday is centered around accomplishing your goals and less about eggs.
Yes, it is very pertinent to this movie. We should rebel, and we should also be strong and eat eggs. I'm doing it. I'm sorry that you have to watch me doing this.
You can do it.
Mm.
Okay.
No, I don't like that.
You're doing great.
Also, 1 bite was the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, that was a bold move.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Did you salt those or anything? You're just going straight up?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've only ever really seen my dad go after him. He usually salts them first, so.
This is awful. They're very dry because they're hard boiled. So like, it's hard to actually swallow the egg.
You're halfway done. You're killing it.
Mm. There's no way that I could eat 50 eggs in an hour.
No, but you are flying through 6. I'll say
I want it to be done.
I figured. But I think the real test would be the endurance needed to maintain like a 50 egg like time frame. There's like when he's doing it too, they have this moment where he takes a break and kind of sprinkles water on his head and takes a quick drink of water, and they like kind of thump on his belly a little bit and say that it's ripe like a watermelon ready to burst. How do you feel? Do you feel like a watermelon ready to burst? Or
I already feel like that. Currently at 4, this is 5. Oh, there's yolk stuffed up on the, like...
The roof of your mouth?
Like in between my lip and teeth. Gross. Oh, it's really hard to swallow them.
You have a White Claw there.
Pineapple White Claw and eggs. Delicious. So I made a really stupid choice when I was hard-boiling these eggs today, which is that I hard-boiled extra eggs so I could make deviled eggs. I'm never going to want to eat another fucking egg.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope you didn't eat deviled eggs like earlier today, because that would make this incredibly painful.
I hate this so much.
Worth every second.
There's so much yolk, like, in between my lips and my...
You're going to have to do like a slosh around with water.
All right, so I have no idea how much time that was, but 50 seems like a completely impossible task. I feel very full right now. I think I read somewhere that 50 eggs is something like 6 pounds of eggs, or maybe that was even in the movie, and
They said that in the movie. I wasn't sure how accurate that actually was.
That's insanity.
It is insane. At the time in which I was doing the egg day like sort of challenge, I was getting the like crates of eggs, not the carton of 12, but I think those are only like, aren't they like 20 or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. Like the square ones.
I was going through like one of those. And that was like an insane time then, eating like 3 eggs a day.
I don't think I could do that regularly. You're a beast. And this is why we celebrate.
Yeah, it was worth every moment.
If it was not for Egg Day, there are lots of movies that I probably would not have reviewed that I now am reviewing. Like, I probably never would have talked about Cool Hand Luke if it wasn't for Egg Day. I probably never would have talked about Deep Blue Sea if it wasn't for Egg Day. I probably never would have talked about Super if it wasn't for Egg Day. And I'm excited to pick a new egg-themed movie next year. Yay, eggs. There's probably so much egg in my teeth right now. Anyway, now that we're done with that horrible stunt, we can talk a little bit more about what happens next in the film, which is that Luke's mom does, in fact, die. And in order to deter him from escaping, because the guards all think that he's probably going to escape in order to attend her funeral, he gets locked in the box. Once he is out, he is absolutely even more determined to escape. But once he gets captured, he ends up put into leg irons. So this is kind of us getting to see how he's losing more and more of his freedom the more defiant he is.
What's interesting is that after he eats the eggs, there's like a large prison bet going on where even the warden starts to respect him. And it's not until his escape that he starts to then lose, I don't want to say respect, but like you said, lose the freedoms that he was gaining.
I think that's exactly right. It does mark a very big shift in the tone of the film once he starts these escapes, of which I think he has 3 escapes. My favorite of the escapes is probably his second escape, which is what includes the bloodhound dog scene. This is when he's escaping. He has the leg irons on. He cuts them off, and he's talking with a couple of kids that he runs into, and he gets them to go get all the spices so that he can put them all over the ground to cover his tracks. And he tells the kids, it's going to be really funny. You guys want to see something fun?
Well, you remember how them dogs do when they come through here, so you can tell me about it someday, okay?
I think one of the other funny things is he manages to get the leg irons off by betting the kids that they couldn't swing the axe. Just kind of bet you can't, until they just do it to prove that they can.
And you know, this movie is so focused on betting. It is.
Yes, it is.
It is. I want to make the impossible happen. I bet you that I can win this poker game when I have nothing in my hand. I bet you that I can eat 50 eggs. I bet you that you can't cut these shackles off of me. I bet that you can't beat me in a boxing match. It goes to show how much the optimism and thinking that if I believe that this is possible, then it very well might be possible. While he is out on the second escape attempt, he actually mails to the prisoners a photograph of him and 2 girls with him all dressed up. And so the prisoners all think that he's doing great and everything is wonderful for him. And it's a very inspirational scene for them. It's them kind of thinking, well, this is what my life is going to be like on the outside. And look, Luke did it. He really successfully escaped.
Look at that. My baby. We in here digging and dying. He's out there living.
Yeah, until he is returned.
Yes. I do want to talk about for a moment that I think that him sending the picture of the 2 girls is very interesting. Despite the fact that there are many ogling scenes of women, you know, they're ogling the 2 girls in the picture. They ogled Lucille. This movie is super gay. There's like a lot of dudes like dancing, jumping rope together. There are a lot of clear homosexual undertones throughout the whole film.
We work hard. We play hard.
How'd you get that scar? What scar?
Open that mouth.
Come on out here, boss. Come on out, Luke.
Rich, that little old belly of yours. Do it, man. Get him.
What do you think?
He didn't swallow the last. Oh, come on. Stop beating it.
I noticed it, and I struggled with the intention of that. I guess I should have taken it a little bit more intentionally, since a lot of this movie seems very thematic, but I wasn't really sure what to make of that, whether that was like part of the fact that they are in fact in a prison, or if that was just sort of Hollywood in the 60s. I didn't really know. You know what I mean? Like if you watch like a lot of old, I know you did a post on the Super Bowl with that little musical number of the girl dressed as a football. But like that is a lot of prancing and dancing around to a musical score. You know what I mean? So like I really didn't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I really don't know if I have a good read on it either. I think you hit the nail on the head. Are they showing these gay undercurrents because the prisoners were actually participating in homosexual acts?
Any man playing grab ass or fight in the building spends a night in a box.
Or is it just because this is a relic of Hollywood making a beautiful movie? And this is such a classic Hollywood movie that it's almost hard to think about it in any other way.
It is abundant, but I would also say kind of subtle. Or maybe I'm just used to today's like TV and movies is everything is very in your face.
There's a lot. So like you mentioned, Luke is recaptured, and when he is recaptured, he is beaten terribly by the guards. And when the prisoners question him about the photograph, he says, "I faked it."
Picture's a phony. Had it made up for you guys.
What do you mean? We saw it all.
Yeah.
Who's having a big time, man? Man, you had it made. What you talking about?
Nothing. Made nothing. Had nothing.
I'm not really sure if he's lying that he faked it or if he really did fake it. I'm not sure why he would send it. I guess maybe to bring the prisoners hope. Do you have any sort of thoughts about that?
No, I was actually wondering if you had any insight into it because I couldn't tell either, but there's a noticeable shift in him, the character. The whole movie, like you said, the tone shifts when his mom dies and he's sent to the box. But like, you know, during the road paving scene, you have this really bright, hopeful music. There's a lot of cheering, even though there's betting on whether or not he's going to eat the 50 eggs. And there's some accusations of cheating throughout the whole scene. It is still an uplifting scene. And the people who are paying up the debt are kind of smiling and they look very hopeful. All hope is completely out of Luke when he returns. And he's all beat up and he's uncharacteristically irritable and cranky. And even though he's beat up, I mean, we see him beat senseless by Dragline earlier in the movie, and he's not cranky or irritable in any of those scenes. And Dragline, I think, even says he's not himself. Can't you see? He's just been beaten up. But that's the only time that, that's the first time we really see like kind of almost a broken spirit for Luke.
It really, really is. And it leads into a little bit later in the film when we see him after his third, it's before his third escape attempt. He's forced to dig a grave-sized hole in the yard repeatedly. And this, for me, is really the moment that he finally gets fully broken down. We start to see it when he's returned after the second escape, but when he is digging that hole, he finally says,
"God, I pray to God you don't hit me anymore."
And that is when he really loses the respect of his fellow prisoners.
Suppose you used to back sass.
No, I won't. I got my mind right.
Yeah, and I think that this ties into the religious thematic here because right before he's forced to do this, he is forced to eat that whole plate of rice in which all the other inmates help him finish. Then he's doing this, and what we see is really just him begging and pleading for it to stop, which I don't know, I feels like a religious imagery there where he's kind of like grasping at ankles from what standing in the grave that he dug. He's no longer strong. He's no longer, he's become very downtrodden to the point that his spirit has broken. He then goes on to escape for the third time by stealing a truck with dragline. And this is the final act of the film. While they have escaped, he goes and talks with God.
Hey, old man, you home tonight? Can you spare a minute? It's about time we had a little talk.
And while he is having that conversation, so again, we have that religious imagery there. While he's having that conversation, the cops show up. That leads us into a very tragic end. You get this action here where Dragline says that they're surrounded, and but that he's already talked to them, and that if they come out peacefully, they'll live, they'll be brought back and, just put back in their own bunks, just like they never left. And that's not what happens at all. What happens is that Luke ends up actually going and mocking the cops by repeating the infamous line, which you mentioned earlier, but we haven't actually said.
What
we've got here is failure to communicate.
And so he mockingly repeats the speech that the warden had said to him previously. And as a result, he gets shot.
What we got here is a failure to communicate.
Yeah, in the neck. And then his death is solidified by the warden making the executive decision to drive him all the way back to the prison that they had escaped to for treatment rather than the hospital that was local to their location.
This does have the beautiful moment, though, the kind of hopeful moment in this very tragic scene as we are watching Luke die and fade away, is that the car, of course, crushes the boss's sunglasses, and Luke has this kind of weak little sly smile that we get to see for a moment.
Yes, we get to end on a moral victory.
And the film ends with the prisoners. Dragline has surrendered and is back in the prison camp. And the prisoners reminisce about Luke. And we get to see that Dragline is now in the leg irons, which to me represents that he was likely continuing to try to escape. And perhaps he is becoming the new savior to the prisoners.
Yeah, what we have here is a passing of the torch and this defiant spirit. He becomes the new symbol of hope for the prisoners.
What did you think overall about this movie after seeing it for the first time?
I had no idea what this movie was about. So, but I did kind of expect an arty film, which is what I would kind of consider this, like sort of like an arty film. And I really enjoyed it. I think that it was probably symbolic to the time period. Late 60s, we're probably in the middle of the Vietnam War at this time. I don't know. I thought it was a really interesting movie. I liked it. I've never really seen Paul Newman in his prime. Thought he was excellent.
I think that this is just one of those films that it's so memorable that you almost don't need to rewatch it a ton. So I was really thankful to be able to have a chance to sit down with it again. Not a lot happens in this movie. You know, you can kind of summarize the movie as prisoners try to escape, they place bets with each other, the end. But really what it is about is about that anti-establishment. It is about challenging what reality is. And Luke's character does that in spades. It's perfectly acted. The soundtrack is amazing. It's visually stunning. I love this movie.
Yeah, lots of really creative camera angles and stuff like that. This movie is very, very deliberate. This was not a story, like you said, that they painstakingly put together. This was an art piece that was put together.
Any final thoughts about the movie before we start cooking eggs?
I know that you said that this movie is very memorable and there's no need to rewatch it very often, but I would not mind rewatching this one every May night. I probably won't, but I think like every 5 years I could see myself seeing this movie on May night.
A new Egg Day tradition.
Yeah, it's like the Thanksgiving Day parade. You put it on.
Yeah, I think that is a wonderful way to celebrate Egg Day. I would be totally in for that if you want to add that onto the traditions of Egg Day, which is mostly just eating eggs.
Yeah, well, you can make it kind of like, instead of a drinking game, but like a hard-boiled egg eating game for like, you know, sort of like the bingo thing for the iconic lines or scenes, or, you know, eat an egg every time there's religious imagery or something like that.
Yeah, I almost made a joke about you have to eat an egg every time something gay happens, but then I decided you would have to eat way too many eggs. You'd be eating way more than 50 eggs. I think we should absolutely create that game and celebrate many more egg days with this movie.
I'll probably make a Cool Hand Luke Egg Day bingo.
Yes, I love that. I'm oddly nervous right now. I feel like I'm going to mess it up in front of the Egg Day champion.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Okay, so the first thing that you have already instructed me to do is preheat my stove and pan over medium high.
Grease the pan up. You can use butter or Pam. Butter adds a little bit more flavor to eggs, so people generally like to use that.
Is that too much butter?
That's probably more than enough. I would cut that in half. You're only using like 3 eggs, right?
I don't know. How many eggs am I using?
I usually go for 3.
So that means today I'm going to have eaten 9 eggs.
You're going to add your diced up ingredients to cook a little bit. You're going to saute them in that butter.
Does that look right?
That looks like right to me. Yeah.
Oh no, it's already a disaster. Oh no, that was definitely eggshell.
Next, you're going to season those eggs with just a pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper.
That was more than a pinch.
You're going to take a fork and you're going to mash it all up and scramble it.
I'm so proud of myself whenever I cook things. Thank you for coaching me. I got pepper in my nose and I want to sneeze now. Okay.
Tell me, what are the onions there? Do they look translucent yet?
Yeah.
Pour your eggs right in on top of that now.
They go in on top of the, okay.
Just kind of gently give it some pushes.
Oh man, I'm spooked. There's a lot of things happening in this pan right now that you can't see.
It does look cooked. Are you ready to do a flip? You're going to kind of go forward and up and let it kind of just do it confidently with strength and then catch it.
All right, forward and up. Oh God, both hands on the handle?
You might have to. That's a big pan. Oh!
It didn't actually flip, but I did catch it.
You did like a full flip. Go a little bit more forward with your flip.
It ripped a lot. Okay.
There you go.
There are so many peppers.
All right, so then now what you're going to do is you're going to put shredded cheese on half of it, and you're going to flip the other half over the top of it.
It's not an omelet. It's definitely not an omelet. There are peppers all over my floor. The problem is that it's a just lumpy mess. I think I made scrambled eggs.
Essentially, one big scrambled egg. Then flip the one half over the cheese.
I'm stepping in peppers. Jesus Christ. Oh my God, there's peppers everywhere. All right, the cheese is all melty and everything looks cooked. So does that mean that I have made an omelet?
You are ready to serve.
It is very good looking.
I would eat that sooner than even one of the hard-boiled eggs that you ate.
Important part now is eating this lovely omelet, quote unquote, that I have made.
A little bit of hot sauce goes a long way.
All right, so I'm going to put sriracha on part of this and then not put it on part of it so that I can try it in both ways. This looks like good eggs, right? So
I'm really not kidding. If you made that for me, I'd be like, thank you very much.
This is a non-hot sauce bite. It is very hot. It just tastes like eggs. Look at that melty cheese. It's all right. I like the red pepper. I'm spending the entire night cleaning my kitchen floor is what's about to happen. There's a lot of peppers and onions on my floor right now. You know that I am not a huge fan of eggs. And you've already mentioned that you would love to eat this if I made it for you. Luckily for you, I actually have decided that since I don't want to eat it anyway, I'm actually going to mail it to you.
Okay.
So I've already pre-prepared this lovely envelope, and I'm going to put this omelet in the mail for you. That's how food works, right?
I'll take it. Somehow I feel like this is going to go smoother than the flip, though.
Perfect.
There we go.
I already got it stamped and ready to go.
Oh, yes.
The greasiness of the egg is making it so that the envelope does not want to seal. I'm mailing it over to you. You get omelet also because you taught me about how wonderful Egg Day is. This is so slimy right now. I cannot say thank you enough for coaching me through making an omelet. I think that was my best one yet. And I think next year is the year I'm going to do it. It's going to be amazing. Next year, more Cool Hand Luke, but we'll pick another egg movie.
No problem. I think next year we'll go for a flip off. I'll do it with you.
Ooh, I love that idea.
We'll see which omelet comes out better.
Now I'm going to have to practice all year. Great. Thank you again so much for coming on and talking with me about Cool Hand Luke. I would love it if you would tell everybody a little bit about what you do and where everybody can find you.
I do a New York Giants focused podcast on YouTube and Spotify called the Just Giants Podcast with my cousin, also named Mike. So we have monikers. I'm the Football Grump. He's the Cranky Fan. And I also have my own channel on YouTube that's just the Football Grump, where I go through spring football stuff and mostly NFL draft stuff. I was most recently on the Talkin' Giants live stream for the NFL draft for all 3 days. So that was super recent to Egg Day, and it always is every year. That's a cool place to check out me in my rare live unfiltered form.
I can't wait to check it out. I have told you this before. I am not a sports fan at all, but I have checked out Just Giants and other work that you have done, and you make sports really interesting, even to somebody who is a novice. So that is something that I really appreciate about what you do, and I am a huge fan of yours. So thank you again for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys all so much for watching. It really means a lot. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and absolutely go follow Mike the Football Grump and Just Giants Podcast. Everything will be linked in the description down below.
Thanks.
Thanks again. awful.